Hello, this is Mr. Amazing. It's great to see you. Something that's been on my mind recently is why it's so hard for me to upload anything. And there's so many reasons for it that I can't go into all of them now. But the biggest one, it seems to me, is I cannot easily and consistently fit myself in the view of what I think people want to hear, want to see, etc., etc. Of course, nobody really wants anything. People are, not to sound elitist, because I'm one of these people too. Whenever I'm not making videos, I'm watching videos. People want to be spoon-fed shit, and I'm one of those people. Again, this is not to talk down to anybody. This means you never really know what anybody wants at any time, because people will pretty much just gobble anything up, myself included. Now, what's so hard about this is you think, or you would like to think, that there's a semblance of quality in most people's minds. You know, I have an idea of what I want, kind of, but it doesn't matter. If there's something in front of me, I'm just going to eat it the fuck up. And so I go on TikTok and I watch and I think, yeah, that's good, next video, yeah, that's good, next video, yeah, that's good, next video. And all of this only appears because people put work into it. And so there's a kind of work that I would need to do if I want to attain to that level of being able to spoon feed people. It's not a matter of just saying, I'm going to do this, and then it's going to come out, etc., etc. No, behind-the-scenes work has to be done, and this is going to take time, and you have to prepare yourself for that time. And so there's one kind of mental labor that goes into thinking about what people want, and then there's another as to actually fulfilling that, and that's not just writing, but writing with the right rhetorical techniques in mind, the right citational mechanisms in place so people can fact-check you, these kinds of things. That's just the writing. Then there's the recording, then there's the editing of the audio, then there's the editing of the video, etc., etc. All this has to be done if you are just going to be possibly in the position to spoon-feed people some bogus something or other that most people aren't going to fact-check, but that you have to do all the work for, because anybody could at any time. And of course, you also don't want to be screwing people over, giving them the wrong information, and so forth. I am typically situated in this first kind of mental labor where I'm thinking, well, do people want this? Do people want that? And so then I never put anything down. And this is like not just troublesome, but it's like there's a vicious cycle to this where if you never put anything down, you're never going to be able to test what you do. But the other thing that's vicious about it is the fact that it's a totally innocuous, totally nothing, totally empty labor. Because people are going to take whatever you spoon feed them. And most of the time, nobody's going to check what you say at all. I was watching some videos the other day from a guy, I kind of like him. You know, I have some gripes with him too. He's not perfect, nobody is. But he was saying some stuff that I totally radically disagreed with. And if I had a debate with him, I thought to myself, God, this guy's an idiot. I could demolish the fuck out of him. Not to be on a high horse or anything, but it's like, he was making an argument that was totally misconstruing what somebody else had said. And he was really, like, in his own supply, like, this is wrong. It's like, no, you're interpreting him in a very shit way. And in my mind, that was totally obvious. All the comments, about 500 of them, not one person had made that response. Maybe one person did, buried within the massive positive comments with 800 plus likes and so forth. Most people said, oh, I love this, you're totally right. How dare they say that? They could never. That was wrong. It's like, well, I don't think that's what they were trying to say. You just read it in such a way that it's very easily picked apart. Point being, most people have no idea what they're talking about, and will follow you on just about anything you say. And I don't mean this cynically, because I do this too. But the point is also that, well, there's something radically horrible about this. Not for people, because it's so easy to say, oh, well, people are just sheep, they're just going to follow whatever you tell them to. And I don't think that's right. What's worse is at the level of not just the influencer, but the person who takes the role of an influencer. This circles back to the point of trying to get people what I think they want. Unless you do have people in mind, and you think of what you're doing as something of a service to them, it's very easy to get into a kind of highfalutin tone, where you're, I don't know, like a steward of the people in some way or another. And so what you're doing is more like, I don't know, not guiding them per se, but it's like you're dripping them the residues of your thought or something like this, and you're condescending to their level, you might say. It's also easy to say, well, just don't do that. Just don't be so egotistical about things. But I don't think the answer is quite so obvious, because When you get people who radically agree with you and are your fans, so to speak, and don't raise the substantive contradictions imminent to what you're saying, it's very easy to not just be in an echo chamber, but to think that that echo chamber is reality. And so this is why I often get caught in this vicious cycle and just don't do anything, because I don't want to be in that position. You might say this is just fear, you might say this is just, I don't know, something not even to really worry about. But the thing is, egotism is quite horrible, and it's even worse when you don't realize you're doing it. And it's even worse still when other people think you're doing it, and then you are resistant to them calling it out because you think it's just plain normal. And I can only say this with such lucidity and clarity because I've been in this position, and it sucks. It sucks because you think everything is going great, when really, if you are doing things that other people see are quite horrible, then all along you've been doing those things. And so not only have you been setting yourself up for an inevitable failure, you've been doing so without any knowledge of it. And so there's something to this where it's like, all along you've been making moves where if you had seen that they had potentially played a role in a kind of egoistic sentiment that you had no idea of, then you would have known all along, and you would have taken better precautions to prevent your downfall. And downfall is such a strong word because what it really means is you're totally done and over with, and this is quite wrong, except in the case of some recent rappers, one in particular, who was ruined, and rightfully so. There's a whole other side of this, which I initially wanted to speak about, but I got lost in my own words, that it's like, when you get into this position, you realize that some things that you do are totally insane. Like doing this. Sometimes, and when I'm watching streams, I'll think this, what if there was somebody watching you out of the corner of their eye, and they were from another room or something, or they overheard you? From their perspective, everything you're doing would seem so egotistical, so nothing, so horrible. Because I'm just talking into a camera. And so you could imagine somebody being extraordinarily passionate and screaming into their camera, like, you can't, and an angle from the bottom of the room showing them for what they are, screaming into a piece of technology. And there's this other thought that creeps into my mind at such a point, that there is a weird limit to knowledge when it comes to speaking for others and towards others, such that unless you are imminently involved in the thing, it's quite easy to see it as totally nothing at all. And I often have this thought, if it is something that you are doing, and somebody else sees it as nothing, then it is also easily able for them to say not only that it is nothing, but that it is something that you don't see it to be. And at that point, it could just be anything. And not only does this loop back around to the idea of one's downfall, but it circles into another issue, which really concerns the viability of doing anything like this at all. That is to say, as I'm speaking into this camera and I post this video, some people will see it, of course they will. Others won't give a shit, and others will think it's really quite horrible, pretentious, and nasty. Now, as they think this, I don't know why they would think it, but I don't know. Perhaps it has to do with the way I speak, the way I carry myself, the way I, talk, I don't know. But as they think this, they will feel it right and within their wherewithal to say, well, you did this, this, and this. You think you're doing this, but really, I know the truth. I know you're actually doing that. And it's this kind of reading through and trying to circumscribe actors, which is really, you might say, the summum genum, or the highest category of issue that is on my mind with these concerns. Because it's not only the idea of being shown that you've been making the wrong steps all along, it's not even the idea of being egotistical all along, it's not even the idea of misleading people all along. It is the idea that what one is wrapped in is, from another perspective, so grossly incorrect that to believe it is itself not only damnable, but downright disgusting. And it is in a case like this that I think, why am I even recording this? This is stupid. This is dumb. What am I doing? What am I here for? This is, like, if somebody overheard this, and somebody watched this and they confronted me, I'd be fucking embarrassed. Really, I would. And, I checked to make sure beforehand, before I recorded this, that nobody else was in my apartment. I have roommates. Because if they heard this, there was somebody just outside, because I have neighbors here, And I paused earlier because I was like, I don't want them to hear this. And it's like, why do I think that? Because of this summum genus, this highest category of problem. Where it's like, this is stupid. This is myopic. This is horrible. It's so sickening and disgusting when I think about it. It's like, God, I just wish I was dead. Not really, but it's like, I have a video on the way. The script is fully done. I think I mentioned it in the last thing I uploaded to this channel. But I have a couple more. I'm going to upload to this channel more, less editing, less pauses. Yeah. Thanks for listening. This was probably totally incoherent, but I appreciate it. Have a good day.